Are you learning a language and you want to know what are some of the best resources that you can buy now to help your success at learning a new language today? This video is going to explore all my top recommendations that I absolutely love when I'm starting to learn a new language. Yes, if you're watching me, if you're on a laptop, a smartphone, you actually have everything you already need if you need to have the bare bones to learn a language. But like anything in life, there are luxuries. If you have a bicycle, you possibly get to work. But people love cars, and people don't love just regular cars. They love fast cars. Cars that are luxurious and very different and give you a very unique feeling, emotional connection to the thing that you're doing. Some people say they just want a house. Yes, some people just want a home, but some people want a home where they're proud to live, that shows off their success, their hard work, and a feeling where they can do absolutely whatever they want. So this video is going to explore the top 5 best things that you can add to your life now to help you be successful in your language learning, even though some of these may be just absolute luxuries and cream on a cupcake for you. So the first thing and my number one recommendation, if you're planning on studying a new language this year, is going to be, what is your primary language course that you are using to learn this new language? Yes, I know YouTube is free. You can go Language Pod 101 and learn some basic phrases. But if you're a serious learner and you're somebody who is not just going to a library, checking out a random book and reading there, again, there's definitely luxuries of things well put together to help you learn very effectively and quickly a new language. And choosing a couple of language programs and finishing them is going to be probably 90% of your battle of actually being successful at learning a new language. So when you go to the market, you're going to quickly realize there's a few types of language courses currently offered here in America or worldwide, and they tend to follow a very similar pattern. They're either a very general teacher style course, such as the Teach Yourself series that are very popular here on YouTube, your Ask Emil series, and your Colloquial series. Now, if you study multiple languages and you've done any type of research in the past decade about some of these courses, you'll realize, spoiler alert, is that not all of these are the same quality because they all have different authors, different objectives, but they're forced into a very similar style of teaching that may work very, very well for some languages that you can easily do a translation back and forth, word for word between the two languages. Or it may just lead you into a very bad situation where you're not really going to be learning the language and you're stuck translating something that doesn't make sense in your target language that you're learning. And this could be due to a very extreme difference in word order or idea of how they use the adverbs and adjectives. Again, these can be a very general book. One of the pros of a general learning course, such as one of these, they tend to be much cheaper than some of the other options, and they go over the very basic overviews of the language, and a lot of them are more towards a traveler of the language rather than somebody who's planning on being fluent with the language itself. You're going to notice a lot of these Teach Yourself and Colloquial style series, what they'll offer you is a very brief overview how to check into a hotel, get a rental car, order from a menu, say hello, bye-bye, good night, and things of that nature. They don't really go in too much detail about your everyday life and how to actually be fluent in the language itself. Brings me to number 2 style of a language course program. It's going to be one that's hyper focused in the target language, and it's only made for that particular target language itself. So an example of this is going to be the Genki series. If you're learning Japanese, there's Genki 1 and 2. It's made primarily for people, Western folks, learning the Japanese language, and they only focus on the Japanese language and culture. You learn a lot of different types of vocabulary that may not be completely useful now, but it's necessary. If you're ever planning on be considered fluent in this language, you have to learn these words anyway. One of the drawbacks, a lot of the vocabulary in these type of books are usually more geared to university students, because that's what their main market is for these language courses, is going to be the university students buying these textbooks. So a lot of it's going to be marketed towards a university student style of environment with pairing, university words like what is your major, what are you studying. These are all fairly common in all these books, even the ones for, like, say, Korean with integrated Korean, Chinese, the new practical reader in Chinese. All these courses and series tend to be revolved around university students, but the series are usually way more in depth. They actually give you a lot more fluency, but sometimes they lack the actual practicality, so you don't get all the practical language that you would in some of the other general courses with these very specific language overviews. And number 3, and probably really popular with this digital age, is going to be the online courses. There's one very popular with the language I'm learning with Banana Thai. She has a series that I think another YouTuber posted that they're learning Thai with like a year ago with her. Now, what I personally find about these series that they can be a lot more pricey. So an Asimil Teach Yourself book can be anywhere between say 50 to 100 US dollars. Now you have your specific language books, like the Genki series might be like $50 a book. So you have 2 books, it's like 100. Maybe workbooks at $200. But these online courses, this is where the money really starts adding up. So it's not uncommon for some of these courses to be 2, 3, 4. I had one of my friends pay over $600 for a German course to learn German. And to me, that's pretty shocking. You spend a lot of money up front for these courses, but they're made from a teacher. And one of the pros is that if you really like your teacher, if you're inspired and willing to trust the nature of the teacher itself. So if you watch this, Banana Thai, and you watch her videos and you're like, I like this person, I trust this person. Honestly, you're probably going to be more successful at learning the language because you trust the teaching methods. One of the number one ways to not learn a language is dealing with, hardship learning the language itself. That's why so many people give up on languages that have these very different scripts, like even Chinese, because they focus so much on the written language up front, is that they get demoralized. And when you become demoralized, your brain just shuts down. You say it's too hard. You're not going to be able to learn anything. So one of the benefits of these online courses is that if you trust the teacher who's teaching it and you follow them, if it's a good course, it will provide you some basic level of fluency. The drawback is that you're paying for that branding. You're paying for that usage of the person who you trust, who has to make that course. You're paying for their own time to make that course. So that is the major drawback, is going to be price. But as long as you trust the person of the course, if you don't trust them, you don't like them, you think they're a snake oil salesman, they're dirty, they're just in it for the money, you're not going to succeed at the course. You're going to hate it. And when you go through it, you're going to start nitpicking. You're going to be like, this person's always wrong. This doesn't make sense. I wasted my money. But if you trust the person, trust in their beliefs that they're guiding you to the right direction with their online course, and you will be successful. Because I personally seen people, especially with that German person, they spend a lot of money with German, with Jenna or Greta or whatever her name is. And now they speak German, they have a German girlfriend. So I personally seen it work. It can work as long as you trust the process. Now, number 2 recommendation that I recommend if you're starting any new language is a decent set of headphones. And this is where we're going into the luxury versus needs and wants here. So just for some background of this, Thai was my first tonal language that I ever learned. It had a lot of unique sounds in the language. And I definitely felt like the language was very hard to hear at first, especially the tones. It all kind of got together. And what I was using was my basic, Beats by Dre earbuds. And I wasn't able to actually hear well enough the actual tones and the language. It was the first time ever I had this happen to me. So when I was learning French, I was able to kind of understand the intonation just fine, listen to my computer audio completely fine. Japanese is very simple. Even Russian was simple. I never had an issue. But again, this is my first tonal language I ever learned. I quickly realized I couldn't hear the tones. And when I was talking to my wife and she's like, oh, you got to say it like this. I'm like, I'm saying it wrong, but I never heard it in the first place. So I went on a mission to find some of the best noise canceling headphones on the market, because I realized that the ones that go inside your ear just aren't as clear. They don't provide that sense of depth that the ones that go over your ears can. And I had a situation where I do a lot of my studying in a Florida room with a very loud AC blowing, because it's very hot down here in South Florida. As you can tell, I'm sweating, but I'm trying to make these videos outside, get some exercise in, because I spend a lot of time video editing and working from home. So This walking definitely helps me. So I definitely went on a mission to find some of the best headphones that are under $1,000 because I wanted to be successful at learning the Thai language. So I found some of the better ones on the market. There were the first ones I came across a lot was the Sony's XM5s. Heard a lot of great reviews about them, but I went on Amazon, there's a lot of great reviews. But when I talked to people who actually had the headphones but had the previous generation, they said it was a downgrade from the previous series, but they are lighter, they look very clean, and most people tend to like the headphones themselves. Number 2 headphone that I encountered was these Momentum 4s. Heard again that these were the best sounding headphones. Until I went on this YouTube dark hole binge, listening about these reviews, about the headphones and Amazon reviews. I quickly realized that this particular headphones has a lot of issues with disconnecting from your laptop, your phone, and I didn't want any connectivity issues. I want to get down to business. I want to learn the language. I don't want to be stuck. Is my headphones working? Not? What's going on? Oh, it needs a firmware update. This is the last thing I want to learn, like worry about when I only have 45 minutes to an hour to learn a language. I want it to work then and there, and this wasn't going to give me that. So I decided against those last minute. It was already in my Amazon cart, but I decided to take it off. And then I came across the Bose, the Quiet Comforts. I had those in the past. Again, I had them in the past. They were fine, but I wanted something different, something I can trust. Again, kind of like the online course. I saw that Apple had some new EarPods Max or whatnot. I tried them on the Apple store, and they actually worked very well. I saw on Amazon. I'll put a link right here. And I saw them on Amazon. They had a nice sale going on these headphones. I couldn't resist with the financing, so I actually picked up the Apple ones, because they had some of the better sound qualities. It's a brand that I trust, that is going to work when I need it to work. And they're made from like this metal instead of the plastic cheap stuff that all their headphones are made of, underneath $1,000. And I've been using them now to learn, Thai, and it's drastically helped me hear actual words and tones so much clearer. My wife has noticed the difference when I'm speaking to her, because I actually hear the difference now way better. Even the Thai Becker book with my earpods, I never heard the background people in the background talking amongst themselves, but with these nice headphones, it drowns out, the noise cancellation takes out all the background audio, so you just hear them speaking naturally. You can actually hear all the little tones and people speak in the background. It's so much more in depth than anything that I was going to get from the actual other headphones or just from my laptop by far. So I absolutely love the Apple headphones thus far. If you want them, I'm going to put a link in the description here. If you want to buy any of those headphones that I mentioned, they're going to be in there as well. It does support the channel. If you're looking to make a purchase, use the link below in my description, and it just helps me to make these videos and make time to share my learn journey with you as well. And just as a quick bit about audio, there's a lot of books now that are coming, that have been around for years, but for some odd reason they're stopping the production of their physical book copies, and a lot of the audio CDs and things on the market are getting very hard to get. So if you do buy a book, make sure it does come with audio or the USB with the audio. And this is going to be really important moving in the future. I just feel like, unfortunately, language learning has deteriorated to the point where most people just watch YouTube in their own language. They don't have interest in other cultures as much. They may travel to these countries, but learning languages has definitely decreased in the past, say, 50 years. There's a lot of videos going over the quality of the language materials, and I was kind of disheartened learning about how many books Asimil themselves have stopped production of, and they're moving to this online subscription style of course. And I kind of like the idea of having some of the physical books with the audio CDs or the USBs, just so I can pass on to my daughter. I have a 3-year-old, and I think of like, okay, she's gonna learn this language maybe in the future. I have this book, I can go over it with her. I have the audio, we can, learn together, have fun memories. But if everything's going online, I just don't like the way the world is going. I'm getting rid of all the physical language books. So if you're trying to get the books, you might learn, say, French in the future, and you see the Asimil book with the USB or the MP3 audio, you might want to get it now and save it, because say if Asimil goes to a digital only or app only, that if you ever try their app, unfortunately it's always crashing. I don't like learning from the app. I like the physical book. It might be the time to actually buy some of these products that you've been eyeing for a while, but make sure you're getting it with the audio, because a lot of things on Amazon now are just these books but without the audio CDs, without the USB. And a lot of these languages, especially like Thai, you're never actually going to learn the language just by reading. There's absolutely no way you're going to learn the language without the audio component to actually listen to the language from these books over and over and over. So pro tip, if you're interested, make sure you get the audios for these books. Number 3 luxury thing you can have for language learning is a good notebook. So at one point in my language learning, I was an absolute mess. I just had computer paper where all the kanji I was learning like 15 years ago, and I just kept writing things down and throwing it away. But I quickly realized if I actually wrote things down in a book that's very, organized, or just writing things down in something that's a little bit higher quality, it sets a mood for what you're about to do. So if you're grabbing a random sheet of paper like this to write on, it sets the mood that this is not something serious. It's not setting the mood that this is like important to you. It's not something that, again, you're not serious about. But if you have an actual notebook that's for language learning, it sets the tone in your mind. There's a connection there that, okay, I'm learning a language now. This is important. I have a nice notebook for it. It's a finer thing. It's a luxury thing I'm doing in my life. Learning a language these days is a luxury. It's like fine wine. So you don't see fine wine being drank, on a bridge. Usually, you don't see fine wine getting drank underneath a bridge by some people with a campfire. You see fine wine in nice, luxurious environments with fine food. And that's how language learning should be. You should have a fine notebook. It just creates everything nicer. It keeps things organized for you. It keeps your thoughts more organized as well, because you're writing it down in your notebook. It better be organized. It kind of clears up things, especially if you have like ADHD or you have a hard time remembering things or you get distracted. The notebook will keep things focused on the things right in front of you. Number 4 luxury in language learning, and my absolute favorite, is get a nice pen. So people never talk about this, but I can definitely feel the difference in my mind. If I have a very nice fountain pen with some good ink on a good notebook, you can feel the difference of the flow of the ink and the pen and everything together. It's kind of like, an art where if you're learning kanji, if you're learning characters, if you're writing, it's just not a number 2 pencil that's breaking. It's not, this caveman approach with graphite pencil lead. It's more of a luxury. You feel the texture of the paper with a very nice fountain pen. Again, you're making the environment very different for language learning than you would just jot down a note for a grocery list. You have, like right now I'm using a Lamy with a special kanji pen that's used for Asian characters. It's for Sanskrit, Chinese, the kanji. It can be used for pretty much all of them. It does very fine writing with good feedback, so you actually feel the difference when you write with it. It sets the tone again for your language learning. It can definitely help you if you're considering a luxury in your language learning. When you pick up that pen, you're about to write something that's important for you. That's why world leaders, they use Mont Blanc, a very famous pen in government societies. When they're about to sign an important agreement, they don't pull out a regular big pen. That doesn't set the tone for what's about to happen. You need to set the tone in your life that this is a luxury. This is something that you do. You are a language learner. You're a language lover. And setting off writing with a product, a fine writing utensil, sets the tone greatly and lets you know in others that this is serious for you. Now, if you want a recommendation for a very cheap type of pen, the Uniball one writes incredibly well. I'll put it right here. But if you want a very luxurious pen, definitely check out a very nice fountain pen. That's going to really set you apart, and it's going to be a great conversational starter. If you're an extrovert, introvert, but you like having conversations every once in a while, having a nice pen can definitely set the tone and opens up a lot of spaces for you. When you pull out a fountain pen, people are like, what is that? Number 5 thing that you need to start considering now, if you're considering learning a language, is how to make friends in that language. So if you're planning on learning Japanese, you need to have access to Japanese speakers. Like, you can have italki, but you're paying for those people. And when you're paying for the people around you, it's very different than you actually making genuine connections with somebody. So I have an idea now, like, am I going to find these people at university? Am I going to find these people on YouTube? Am I going to find these people on Reddit? How am I going to go finding native speakers of this language to integrate into my life, to form relationships, understand how the society works? And you would only get that from real friendships, real bonding with people. No amount of paid tutorship is going to teach you the bond that you would have with somebody natively in the language. Because I had a situation when I had to discover that certain people from certain cultures will never say no for you inviting them out to do something. So I was like, hey, you want to go here? It's like, oh yeah, I'm busy. Or not, I wasn't busy. It was said something along like they said yes, but then they just kind of disappear. It was like a culture thing where they can't directly say no. They'll just be like, oh, it's very like maybe. They'll just keep saying maybe, but that was just a culture difference that you had to learn about. If you have a paid tutor that is maybe there for your tutoring process, you just fire them, right? So you won't actually know how the culture is with friends, dealing with the environment and that aspect of it. So start planning now of making friends in the language. And just a bonus, a number 6 thing that you need to know before you start a language is what level are you aiming to be in this language? So for me, I'm aiming to be at an A2 level in the Thai language within 1 year. So it's a very clear time frame. It's a very clear goal. I know exactly what I need to be able to do in the language. If you're just starting a language and you are like, I just want to dabble in Japanese and see what happens, I'm going to learn a word a day, you're never going to become fluent. You're never actually going to learn the language. You might learn a little bit about the culture, but if you're a language learner, you need to have very clear goals. Because without the clear goals, you're never actually going to be successful in your language learning. That's probably one of the most important things, is being successful at your language learning with this new language that you're learning. So definitely start your journey off. If you need help with your goal making, leave a comment below. We can discuss, possible goals. Like say if you have 3 weeks off from work and you want to be an A2 level in French, or if you want to be, say, you got 1 year to study a language up to a B1 or B2, like what would you go by learning the language? We can definitely talk in the comment sections. I realize that a lot of people in these type of videos love to leave comments. It's probably better than Reddit because people are very vocal on YouTube for some reason. But leave a comment below if you have a particular goal or if you need help making a goal. I'm pretty sure somebody watching this video will definitely go over helping you making those goals. Again, this video is just my own personal opinions of some top things that you can integrate into your life to better help you learn a language. It may not be the best for everybody, but they're the best for me. I wanted to make this video to share that. Other than that, good luck on your language learning and take care.